Welcome to Faith-Filled Motherhood, where real talk meets real faith. I'm Carly.
And I'm her twin sister, Brooke. Each week, we dive into the heart of motherhood through the lens of grace, hope, and truth.
Whether you're in the carpool line, folding laundry, or maybe you're on your way to work, we're here to walk this journey with you.
We're so glad you're here with us today. You're listening to Faith-Filled Motherhood.
Welcome back to part 2 of our episode, talking about all things parenting and marriage with some of our best friends. We are glad that you decided to join us back for the rest of this episode. There's a lot of good things in store, and we're going to pick right back up where we left off last week, talking about how we parent with grace and truth.
How do you guys balance grace and truth while also teaching your boys right from wrong?
I don't know. I have a really hard time because I get really angry.
I love it.
I don't have patience. I really do not have patience. And it takes me to, I blow up before I calm down. I have to goose fraba.
What about you?
We're still working on that. So I do not have any.
I love the honesty.
I'm a mess over here. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Well, yeah, she's not really the one who usually does that.
I don't correct him.
She's more of the just get mad. I mean, I can get mad, but I look at it for them as, obviously I'm trying to teach them everything. So anything that they want to do or learn, if you're teaching them at the same time, it's one of those, you know that they're going to mess up and make mistakes nonstop. So I look at it as, if I teach them by example of what I want from them, and if they mess up once, twice, right, you can correct them and be like, no, this is how it needs to be done, and here's why. And, back to the why point, I think it's really poorly. A lot of people like to just say, well, because I said so, when in reality, if you actually give a reasoning behind the why. So if it's, hey, you need to speak this way, the family speaks this way. It's not a because I say we speak this way. It's we speak this way because it, brings respect to us. It shows that we have dignity. It shows that we care. It shows who we are as people, right? Behind closed doors. And so it's one of those, now if I tell them all that, and then they go out and go against what we just all talked about, or that I taught them for the last 6 months, and now they do the exact opposite, that's where, obviously the grace was leading up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where the correction has to be made, which usually technically correction is grace, because if you're still correcting, you're still providing them with a chance.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd say, so I would argue that's, really the grace almost never, it really never stops, which I think it falls right in line with the whole purpose of what we're all doing as parents anyway, right? And that's why we're all leading our kids through Christ, right? The whole purpose is we get grace indefinitely. So how can I say, hey, look at all this grace I get, but I'm not going to give you any? Because that's an easy way for them now to say, well, why would I want to do anything that you say anyway? Because you don't even believe what you're telling me you believe. Mm-hmm. So I think it's all by example. So if you can basically, it's tough to constantly just want them to do better. You want them to do better. You want to keep teaching them. You want to make sure that they're always doing it the right way. But at the same time, you almost need them to fail more times than not, or else they can't even do it the right way anyway. We're dealing with that with school right now, right? They come home and we know they know how to spell, or we know they know how to write, but at school they may not do it just because they don't want to. Mm-hmm. So then you can't just have them come home and say, oh, you're going to be dumb, you're never going to make it, because now they're just going to say, well, I guess that's what it is. But instead you have to sit them down, teach them something that they already know. They're going to prove to you that they already know it. But through you, it's really, through you showing them that, hey, it's okay that you messed up that one time, but here, do it again.
Yeah.
We saw it in real time. 2 days ago, Brinson, we were basically told, hey, he doesn't know his alphabet. And then today he comes home with a certificate that says he's like one of the best kids in school. So it's like, oh, well, that's good.
Manners for the month. So like he's acting properly and doing everything. But his teacher said he only knew 4 words out of a whole story. So I sat him down and I said, read this whole story. And he literally read the entire story. But she only circled the 4 top words, which means he's not doing it for her, which is wrong, because now you're making me look bad because I did a whole year. But I'm like, then I have this other kid over here that the same school year, the same work, learned at the same time, and he's knowing everything.
Yeah.
So
Garrett, I like what you said, that this is what our family, like, this is how our family speaks. And I think that speaks to, as Christians, especially, it's our job to teach and lead by example and not expect something from our kids that we're not willing to do ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Talking to me?
Anyone.
Yeah. So like full transparency, we're just doing it. I have leaned mostly towards kind of where Ariana's at. Like, I just kind of get explosive. And I think.
Well, let's just say her toddler has finger painted with her.
Yes. Okay. I'm going there. I'm getting there. So so my almost 2-year-old in the last 2 weeks has taken her diaper off and finger painted herself in her crib with her poop 3 times. And it is like the most frustrating. The first time I thought, like, okay, maybe it burned, maybe like there's got to be a reason. She wouldn't just normally do that, right? So I'm like, okay, we've been doing the diaper cream and we've been doing all this stuff. And mind you, like in this time, we're also trying to potty train because she's going to be going to childcare. So it's like, there's a lot going on. But 3 days in a row, not 3 days in a row, but 3 times of her doing this. And then the next night, oh yeah, there's pictures because I was so frustrated and I felt like nobody believed me of like how bad it was. So I took a picture of it.
I believe you, don't send.
And so I was like really frustrated by the 3rd time, right? And then the next night, she has diarrhea and it goes out her diaper all over her crib, and it was not her fault at all. But I was just like, the whole family had been sick leading up to it. She had finger painted multiple times. So like by this 4th time, like I've literally exhausted our washing machine and dryer because of doing all this laundry. And I'm like, it's 2 a.m. and I'm just frustrated. And I know in my mind consciously, this is not her fault. She's sick. There's something going on. She did not purposefully do it this time, right? But I'm like, throw her in the bathtub, get her showered, get her bed changed, like do all this stuff while the baby's screaming and I'm at the end of my rope. And like, I just I yelled at her, and like, I go back to my bed. She's back in bed. She's all settled in. And I'm sobbing. And my husband is like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm such a crappy mom. Like, I'm just such a jerk. She's sick and it's not her fault. And I just got mad and I don't want to be that mom. And like, when babies are sick, when I'm sick, I just want my mom. And when she's sick, she just wants her mom. And I just yelled at her. And like, I just like had this moment where I personally do feel like it was God being like, this isn't the mom I've created you to be. So like, get a grip, because
Once a week.
Yeah, it's literally like been a lot lately. So I just had like this moment and God was like, that's not how I respond to you. So why are you responding to her in that way? And it was just like this conviction. And I cried for like an hour and a half, got it together. And then the next day I tried to be better, and like when she woke up, I just like held her and I was like, I'm really sorry that I yelled at you. And I'm sorry that you're sick. And like, she doesn't know. That was all for me. She has no idea, right? Like she probably already forgot, but I felt so guilty and felt so bad. And then like for the rest of the week, it has been like I literally ask myself, like, how would God respond to me in this way? Because that's how I want her to feel. Like, I don't want to respond as my flesh. I want to respond as a reflection of Christ.
I think to speak to that though, you know, I find a lot in our, like, I think people, to be honest, I think a lot more parents are like reactive than they admit. And I think the whole like gentle parenting thing has made everybody that's not gentle, doesn't mean they're abusive, but that's not gentle, go, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible parent. Like, I'm so reactive and but I think being reactive, I think more people are reactive than maybe admit that they are. But there's a lot of like situations, just going off of what Becca was saying with the stove. Like, there's a lot of situations we find where we will be very reactive to something as like a preventative, or it's out of fear. And it happens a lot with Jax, with our son, more so than the girls. But now as they've gotten older, they ask, why did you get so mad? Like, why are you mad at me? Jackson says, why are you mad at me? All the time. And so one of us, if he's reactive, I'll end up like explaining, or even if I do it, like I find myself having to explain afterwards. I'll go, hey, just so you know, I'm not mad. Like, that was not anger. I was afraid. Like, I was afraid for you. And I, you know, or like there was Jackson was in the street. I don't remember exactly, but he was literally in the street the other day, and there was like a car coming. And Austin was like super reactively kind of yelled out to him. I mean, yeah, but like yelled out to him, and he came in crying. He's like, Dad's mad at me. He used his mean voice and he's mad at me. And I had to, Daddy's not mad at you. Like, Daddy was scared. You know, Daddy was trying to protect you and stop you because you didn't see the car that was coming. And, you know, I don't know.
I like that you said that, because I think like the struggle of grace and truth, like preach the truth in love. There are times where she can nail both, or I can nail them both, but like the beauty of a Christian marriage, parenting Christian children, is the partnership. It's the unity team where I can be the truth and she can be the in love, you know. And there's often, I mean,
often happens that way.
It's almost daily where, and a lot of times I'm just not thinking like, this deeply wounded their hearts. I'm just like, like, you're welcome. And so I can just tend to be a little bit more abrupt in my approach. And she often will bring the explanation. And through that, though, through watching her do that, I've been able to get better at that myself. And she'll say, hey, you need to go explain to him this. I said, I already did it. You taught me how to do it. But yeah.
I think we kind of would all agree, maybe. Let's see. I think there's definitely a place in parenting to get mad. I think it's not wrong. Everyone's like, I don't know. I'm not trying to justify just.
I wholeheartedly agree.
But no, I honestly think getting mad is instant feedback. If your kid does something and it makes you mad, they learn immediately. Oh crap! Don't do that. And there's
I shouldn't hit mom in the head with the Lego.
And I understand that there's like a deep psychology to this. That there's like, you know, seeking negative attention. There's like all these things, but I just like to think in terms of extremes sometimes, and just think of this extreme. You raised your kids and never got mad at them once. Is that realistic relationship? Like, there's nothing they can do to make you mad. Like, I can make God mad. Like, God can be angry, right? That's all through the Bible. And it's not a realistic relationship that you have with your kid if you've never been mad. If they did something like hurtful or so wrong, like, there are some things that deserve to provoke anger.
Well, it's like a marriage too. It's like a superficial marriage if you never ever disagree and never fight.
I hate when there's no reaction.
Yeah. So the problem with getting mad is that it leads us into other sin, right? It leads us to do things that we don't intend to do, or right. So I'm not justifying just screaming at the top of your lungs, but like I am kind of trying to swing the balance back over to like, it's okay if something made you mad, right? If it, for whatever reason, and then this is another interesting thing, little aspect to this, but like, there is this other end, like let's say you do scream, get mad, go off the rails. You then have an opportunity to model forgiveness, to model humility, to model how what are you supposed to do when you fail, when you sin, when you go off the rails, and you're teaching them this whole process. And that can get, I'm not trying to make it into like this, like, oh, just get mad all the time, but like there is a lot more to it than just like, we should never get mad, you should never raise your voice. Like, I don't think that's true at all.
Yeah. And I
think it's a difference. I think it's a difference between like a righteous anger almost versus a sinful anger.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you have kind of a righteous anger when your kids are doing something wrong and you're trying to correct it to set their path straight. Mm-hmm. Right. If they're walking crooked and you're like, hey, we got to get you back over here. That's like a righteous anger almost. But it becomes a sinful anger and I'm guilty of it. Like, I'll be the first to admit it. It becomes a sinful anger when you're, screaming and yelling, and it becomes, we don't want to be named, which I'm not name calling. I'm not saying I'm guilty of that. But, when you're like name calling your kids, or you don't have to be hitting your kids to be abusing your kids, right? You can screaming in their face and name calling and things like that. That is like a sinful anger versus a corrective anger, if that makes sense.
Well, and there's anger that brings correction, and then there's anger that just makes us feel better because we're expressing our feelings and screaming, and then trying to just fix ourselves. Are you making fun of my hand? And then I just want to speak to the single parenting aspect of it, because I'm sure there's people who will listen that are single parents, and I heard all of you say that one of you is good at one thing and the other is good at the other. Good at all. You're good at all. I know. So I just want to encourage single parents to, like, and my mom has said this, and she was talking about me the other day, is like, we, as either married parents or single parents, we parent with the Holy Spirit. And so allowing God to fill the gaps where you may not be, like, I play both sides, where like sometimes I'm like more disciplinary, and then other times I'm like more leading in love, and it's hard to like play both roles consistently every time, and that's where I fail. So I just want to encourage all parents, but especially single parents, like, lean into your community around you, and lean into God to allow Him to bring in the correction and the love, and don't expect yourself to be good at both all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like 10:30 for all three of your families. So this is gonna be the last question, and I'm gonna let everybody have a chance to answer. But if you could just give parents, married couples, single people advice on living out your Christian faith in this modern world, whether in marriage or parenting, or looking for a spouse, what's your 30 seconds, not 30 seconds, but like, what is your advice to those listening? We'll start here and then we'll go around.
Go ahead.
I think something that I just had to learn the hard way through marriage and divorce and parenting is, like, life is not always more fun, but it's always more worth it, and it's always more beneficial to live sacrificially and committed. So I realized actually just in the last few years that a lot of what I went through at a young age was because I looked at God as for what He can do for me and not what I can do for Him. And so I think that just comes back to parenting, marriage, being a Christian is like, and I think we've talked about this a lot already. It's just like, it's not about me. And I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife. I'm a better youth pastor, I'm a better employee in a secular office when I am living in a way that's like so focused on honoring God and not what I can get from it.
That's good.
Not what I can. And I think as like a parent, it's easy to like see like what can I get out of parenthood, and I often feel like I'm getting ripped off out of motherhood, and it's not like what I would have wanted, and it's not what I would have dreamt of, and it doesn't make me feel the way I want it to feel, and it's never going to be any of that. And then I have to realize like that it's not about me. Motherhood is not about me. It's about raising disciples for Jesus, and my marriage is not about me. It's about what we can do together, and it's about being a Christ-like mirror for each other. And then in the world, it's like I just had this thought the other day. Is like I have this T-shirt, and I'm often like, motherhood is kingdom work, but like we should walk in a way that every single thing we do is kingdom work.
Ooh, that's good. Well, that was all we needed. Really, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be really quick because it's basically the same thing. But really, in every season, just to seek God first and to just if you put all of your effort into one thing, put it into being close to God.
Mhm.
Like that's it. And it's easier said than done. And it sounds really generic, but in practice, that's the most satisfying life. That's the most fulfilling life. That's the life that's not going to leave you feeling empty at the end of the day. Is just you might think you want a spouse, but if you're not being satisfied by God alone, then your spouse is never going to do what only God can do. And that same logic applies to every situation. Is that if you're not satisfied in Him alone, nothing else you do or add to your life is going to make you feel better.
Yeah. Becca, what advice do you have for young, old people who are just trying to focus their life on God while living in this modern world with parenting and marriage?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always remind myself like my job as a Christian is to reflect Christ, not the world. So like, I mean, for me, it's like, is this conversation edifying? Does it glorify God, or is it gossip, or is it glorifying the world? Like, should I be partaking in this conversation? Should I step away? Like sometimes that's hard. You know, watching a movie, is this knowing that like Christ is with me and in me? Is this appropriate? Am I uncomfortable watching this? I need to turn it off. Music, fashion, like there's so much to every aspect of our life where I have to ask myself constantly, like, what's my comfort level with this? And using that discernment, like, I hope that this is portraying the way that I want it to, but like, yeah, music in the car, like, okay, that's a struggle for a lot of people, is music or movies or television. And like even it sounds silly, but like I'm going back and rewatching Gilmore Girls, and they like joke about God being a woman, and like, does that bother me? Like, I don't know, like it just kind of struck me, and I was just like, I don't know, does that bother me? Should I continue this? Like, it's so weird, things that you would think they're not that big, but then it's like any area that contradicts God, like I want to get rid of that. I want to be apart from that. Like God calls us to be set apart. So if I'm reflecting the world, I'm in the wrong and I need to make a correction.
Good. Austin and Jess, what advice do you guys have?
I'll give parenting advice.
go ahead.
You do marriage.
Okay.
I think let your kids watch Chase Jesus is the biggest thing that I've seen a lot of fruit from in our home. I have had a easier time in in assisting in Jackson's growth in his faith because I started younger. So I think a key thing is like, if you can, I mean, start wherever you're at. If you just got saved and your kids are 16, start there. But if you can, start younger. I began doing nightly devotional things with Jackson on his level, and just also allowing him to see me. I'm out here in the morning at the table with my Bible open, and he walks out, that's what he sees. So letting your kids see you chase Jesus, and disciple them. I mean, we're all called to be disciples, and your children are the very first ones you're supposed to do that with. So I think let them see Jesus. And then another thing I was going to say earlier, I'll say it now. I guess this would be specifically for fathers. There is going to be situations, Brooke, like yours, where this might not be the case. And so you're forced to step into these shoes. But for fathers specifically, you are their first interpretation of what a father is. So when they begin to learn about a heavenly father, the only contact for that is going to be their experience with their earthly father. So, you know, some maybe had great fathers, some of us maybe didn't. But knowing that you get the opportunity to help shape their perspective of what a father is, and the only thing we can do, because we're not going to be able to do that on our own, is just to try to look as much like Jesus as possible, so that when they get the you know, they have childlike faith, but when they come to an age where they're really trying to understand who is Jesus, what is the character of God, that they would have a real life example of something hopefully close to that in their own father.
That's good. And if you are single, surround yourself with godly men who can fill that role for your kids and can be that example. Jess?
Yeah, I think as far as couples goes, I would say check on your spouse's walk. That's something that we do often, and a lot of times I don't love it or he doesn't love it if we're not, when we need it. And there's sometimes we'll check in and I'll be like, hey, what'd you read this morning? Or hey, what did God speak to you this morning? And sometimes he'll be like, oh, blah, 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 and he'll have a whole list of things to say. And other times he'll check me, and even today we had a conversation and he's like, I know when you're on because you talk about it. And when you're not on, you don't have anything to say. And I'm like, okay.
Just assume that your spouse has a healthy relationship with God.
Yeah, but have a healthy enough relationship with your spouse that you have those conversations. You can check, I can check him and check his walk, and it may be annoying or it may be, whatever in a moment, but the
only reason it would ever be annoying would be if I am not investing in my relationship with God.
Right.
It's a healthy nudge.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's the intent and the heart behind it is just a gentle nudge to be like, hey, where you at? Make sure, and it's good because I think it keeps you accountable, and it keeps me accountable if I know he knows. Right. Today, he told me, I know when you're on and when you've been spending time with the Lord because you just freely offer it to me. You tell me. And that's true. I do. And when I'm not, as consistently spending time with the Lord or as fruitfully spending time with the Lord, I don't have as much to say. And so if I know that he's aware of that, it helps me it keeps me accountable also.
Can I add something to that? I know we're done. No, just really quick. I was listening to another podcast recently, and I don't even remember the guy's name. He was like a guest on it, and he wrote a couple of marriage books. I think it was like The Sacred Marriage or something. But he went so into depth about how marriage is so the picture of Christ, right? In us, and how if you look at marriage as like a blessing that you have someone to mirror that to you and like hold up the mirror for you and be like, here, there are some things to look at. Like if you view your marriage as a blessing in a way that sanctifies you instead of on the defense, then it's a complete game changer when you do receive that feedback or you do receive that question of like, hey, how are you doing? Or are you close to God? Or like, what is he doing in your life? Like if you view that as a blessing to sanctify you, then you're going to approach that. It might sting at first, but then you check yourself and you're like, well, thank you, Jesus, that I have someone that is willing to ask an uncomfortable question like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Ariana and Garrett, do you guys have advice for parenting or marriage?
I guess in general, like what I said at the beginning was have your relationship with God individually, but also together. Like if you listen to his testimony, he said, you know, I dragged him to church multiple times. I dragged our family to church, but he wasn't doing anything for like his relationship with the Lord, you know, and I would do it, but very mildly so. But together it's so much stronger, and we're starting to recognize, like, looking back and putting dot to dots together of, wow, you know, the growth from this time to this time, what changed? Oh, God, you know, like he was in the middle of it. Or you also start to communicate and understand and reciprocate so differently, all sorts of different good things, bad things, issues, arguments, in such a different light when you actually have God, you know, like if you have faith, you can go through things so much better than without.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
Yeah, Ariana, you say that all the time. Like when Marco is like, I don't know how people could live their life without faith.
I don't know how, like whether it's sickness, illnesses, divorces, childbirth, everything, like without him, I don't know how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Your turn, babe.
My turn. I think it's imperative to have discernment. And the only way to get discernment, though, as I'm learning, it's constantly increasing, right, is you have to read the word often. And what I'm getting from it, you know, with the discernment, the reason it's so important, right, is we can't be a godly father, a godly mother, a godly family, or even friends, but be godly for our friends, right? If you're not reading the word and you don't really understand, if you don't understand who God is, if you don't understand the blueprint of who we're supposed to be and called to be, then you really can't walk through situations correctly. So if there's ever a situation even where you're asking, how should I respond to this? One of the best ways that I've been doing it, and I think it's super useful, and I know some of my friends out here do it, and we talk about it, but I mean, just go online even and type in, hey, where's a verse that talks about this so I can just read about it? And then you start to understand, okay, that's how they walk through it. Well, if that's how Paul walked through it, well, then I should probably walk that way, because obviously he was a little bit more wise than I am. And that's really how I go about it. I think discernment's super, super important, and trying to really understand every situation from a lens greater than yourself. And it definitely helps with the grace and being calm and patient, especially with your partner.
Yeah, I love that.
That's good.
Well, my advice is just to not do life alone, whether it's parenting or marriage, singlehood, relationships. Like, get yourself into community. Like, I'm looking at this screen and I'm just so thankful that I have these people, even though they're all over the country now, that can speak truth into your life, that you can, like, I don't have a husband that I could be like, oh my gosh, today was like the worst day ever, and like vent to, but surrounding yourself with people that you can. So even, I mean, you don't want to gossip about your marriage to other people, but having people in your life that you can be honest with and that can speak truth into your life, I think helps you get through parenting and relationships and looking for relationships or anything like that. So my advice is just find a good Christian community and an authentic Christian community.
Even Jesus didn't do it alone.
Jesus didn't do it alone. He probably could have, but he chose and gave us the example to not do it alone. So, well,
Yay.
thank you guys for joining us. We got off to some giggly starts, but we pulled it all together.
Thanks for joining us on Faith-Filled Motherhood. Be sure to follow, share, and check out our website for more opportunities to connect.
We'll see you in the next episode.